What's up, everybody? We are about to get some more insights on the release date of the Elden Ring DLC in about 2 weeks on November 2nd, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. Also, we'll be talking about the news that Sony has a Soulslike that is in the testing phase of development, so it's nearly finished. Could it be Bloodborne Remastered? We'll also talk about that. And the final story I want to address today is the video that Ziostorm dropped this morning, where he gives a little bit more insight about the leaks that he's heard, the potential leakers that he's in contact with. So I'll give my thoughts on that. First of all, let's talk about the Elden Ring DLC. In exactly 2 weeks, on November 2nd, Kadokawa, the parent company of From Software, is going to drop the earnings result for the Q2 ending in September 30th. Now, usually when they do these results and these presentations, they talk about forecasts, and that's when we can get a little bit of insight on what From Software is planning at the moment. Just to give you an example, at the end of 2022, they dropped this presentation, Elden Ring just released, and they were basically flexing to their investors, showing, look, you made a good decision. Elden Ring is making a bunch of money. They're saying that From Software's worldwide blockbuster title, Elden Ring, drove a significant increase in sales. So there wasn't that much insight on this one, but the one that just happened 3 months ago, on the other hand, they were mentioning that the sales for Elden Ring decreased, and they were reassuring the investors by mentioning Armored Core 6 and how that's going to be a good success, and including the development of a major DLC to maximize the long-term value. And that was for outlook for the second quarter and beyond. Now, I was 100% sure that the DLC would have released in 2023, because at no point in this report they are talking about 2024. However, a lot of you guys pointed out that they're probably referring to the fiscal year of 2023, which does end in March 2024. So it makes sense that it will release before March next year. So these are the things that we can expect on the report that will come in 2 weeks on November 2nd. The first thing we can expect is they will talk about the Armored Core sales, how it did. Second thing is that they will mention possible support for Armored Core 6, whether it's going to be a small DLC that is attached to the main game, or it's going to be a standalone game on the side where you can import all your builds just like they did with previous games. So they will definitely mention what their plan is for Armored Core 6. And also they will most likely mention at least a time frame for a release window for Shadow of the Erdtree. And the reason for that is that these reports, the only purpose is to reassure investors. They want to share at least some of their plans so that people feel comfortable investing in Kadokawa and From Software, knowing that they have a lot of stuff cooking in the oven. It's been almost 2 years, which is quite a lot of time to work on an expansion. So clearly, if they don't want to tell the fans yet what they're planning, they will have to mention something to their investors. So in 2 weeks, when we get the report, you best believe I will make a video where we will be analyzing it. This is an ad for a company called Research Eye out of the UK. And they had a 4-day game test that paid 500 quid. And that was for Soulsborne fan. And it was testing of a brand new Soulsborne game. Now, I don't think this has anything to do with Elden Ring, because this is orchestrated by Sony. From Software doesn't need Sony to test their games at all, but it could be an unannounced Sony game. If you see at the bottom right, there's a logo where it talks about Elden Ring, Dark Souls 3, Wolong, Bloodborne, and the dates for the testing was from Tuesday, October 10th, all the way up to Friday, October 13th. So that was last week. And there's pretty much no chance that any of this info will leak, because the participants are probably under heavy NDAs, and if they break it, it could be prosecution and so on. I highly doubt that a word about this game is going to come out from the participants themselves, so we have to read between the lines. Now, is Sony working on a Souls-like game that we know of at the moment? Not directly. But there is Team Ninja that is developing a PlayStation exclusive called Rise of the Ronin. By the way, I'm extremely hyped for that game. I did like Wolong, however, I don't like the morale system, and I'm glad that they will ditch that. The fact that it will no longer be mission-based, but have a deeper story with an open world, it's gonna be really interesting. So possibly they were doing testing for this game. The reason why it might not be the case though is because Team Ninja is located in Japan and this test was in the UK. Why would they go to the UK just to test this? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. There's a bunch of people available in Japan to test it. So it is puzzling. Sony has two studios that are located in the UK. There is Firesprite, which mainly focuses on VR technology. And then there is simply the studio called London Studio. But none of these studios are known for working on Soulslikes. So it is extremely puzzling. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on there, but it is very intriguing. Is it a Bloodborne remake? Is it an entirely new IP? I can't wait to find out. And please let me know what you think about that in the comment section. By the way, this is not the first time that Sony uses this company for testing. Here's the ad that they had for the Dreams playtesting that was quite a while ago for the PlayStation exclusive Dreams. Anyways, let's move on to the last topic. Ziostorm dropped a little bit more info about the alleged leakers that he's been talking to behind the scenes, and he's not able to share everything. But from what I see, I'm pretty skeptical. Let's just recap what the leakers said. They said that there would be a reveal at the Game Awards and that the DLC would launch on February 5th, which happens to be a Monday. Now, that is a huge red flag, and we talked about that in the latest video. Now, let's listen to what Ziostorm had to say about these leakers.
Now, obviously, I can't come out and say everything I know about the leaker, but there are two of them that were feeding me this information simultaneously. And the original rumor that I had heard was that DLC was planned for November, but they didn't have any idea of an exact date. Now, I was skeptical about this at first, but thought that it might be a realistic possibility since I didn't see Armored Core 6 getting a very long lifetime of support. But it still felt a little bit too close to the release date for Armored Core, and now that we're all the way into October and still haven't seen anything, I'm not counting on that anymore. But after we got into September, the other leaker came forward saying that they've received new information and that they are dead set that Elden Ring DLC will be shown at TGA with the release date of February 5th. So it sounds like plans could have possibly changed. But the fact that this new information came forward and the person was extremely confident at around the exact same point where Jeff Keighley visited seems to me like a little bit more than a coincidence. Now, another funny thing to add on top of that is that the leaker who brought forward this February date has since gone quiet. And the other leaker who they had a disagreement with claims that some of their sources have gone quiet as well. Now, my initial reaction upon hearing that was to think that somebody got caught, and is certainly not outside the realm of possibility, but if this person were to be faking this leak, I don't see a reason why they would suddenly go silent. And here's why I am a bit inclined to believe them. Number one, if the reality is that they got caught, then that would mean that the information was real. And number two, it's more than one person involved in sharing this information, so unless they're working together to pull off a very elaborate fake leak, I would be very impressed.
First of all, I just want to say that Ziostorm at the beginning of his video did a great job explaining that he's not a leaker, he's just reporting on what he has heard, and everything should be taken with a grain of salt because at the end of the day, there is no proof. There's only people mentioning February 5th with a reveal at the Game Awards. Now, the Game Awards is a given. It's gonna be there. If it's not, there's serious issues. But February 5th doesn't really make sense. It's on a Monday. And when it comes to leakers, a lot of them are just complete cloud chasers. For example, Jeff Grubb. I don't know if you guys remember the Halloween, but I've been following Elden Ring's development since 2019. And there was a real starvation for information during the early years of waiting because we waited a whole 2 years before even getting a trailer. Now, Jeff Grubb would do a podcast every Friday and say, oh, I've heard some rumblings that it's coming soon. It's coming soon. It's not months and months. And at the end of the day, he was incredibly wrong. He was just a cloud-chasing content creator that was trying to name drop Elden Ring to get some more views on his podcast. He was incredibly wrong every step of the way. The only leaker that is reliable, on the other hand, is Omnipotent. And when Omnipotent dropped some info just a few days before Summer Game Fest, Jeff Grubb jumped on it, claimed that the information was his, just so he would be able to tell everybody "I told you so" after the gameplay trailer dropped. So my point is that with these alleged leakers, you have to be extremely cautious. Most of the time, it's just a clout chase, and unless they're giving any significant information, like in the case of Ziostorm's leaker, if all they can tell you is February 5th, if they're not able to give you any corroborating information, like for example, potential bosses, potential new areas, new gameplay elements, most of the time it's just a cloud chase, because that is literally the easiest prediction anyone could ever say. And that's what Ziostorm pointed out too. He's doing his job, he's just reporting on what he's heard. And if I had leakers that came to me on my channel and told me this, I would tell you the exact same thing. I would tell you the info, that way you're able to make your own decision. But personally, I think that they're just cloud chasing. They don't have any info, because that is way too easy of a guess. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. Let me know if you are looking forward to that PlayStation exclusive, because honestly, I am puzzled. I want to know what's going on with that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.